All right, we've talked on different programs and platforms that are out there for veterans that are getting out and transitioning slash maybe retiring. This specifically, we're going to kind of talk on programs and platforms that are available for first responders and some of the things to think about as you may be getting ready to get out, transition, or retire. And the specific program that we're going to talk on today is Chateau Recovery, which is out of Utah, and they provide some services specifically to first responders, alcohol treatment, anxiety, depression, trauma, PTSD, and substance abuse. They also have some resources that are available out there, and I'll make sure that the link is posted on the YouTube description. But resilience program, No One Fights Alone podcast, FOP vetted and approved, and responder resilience training. So if you're looking for any type of assistance or help in some of those categories, Chateau Recovery.com is the website, but I will post that as well. Specifically today, I'm just going to kind of go through a blog post that I found that they had on what retirement looks like and getting out. And this is specific, obviously, to first responders. They're talking on how to prepare for the future, and oftentimes, when doing that, it's one of two ways. Either you are doing your time, your years, and retiring, or something happens and medically you're retiring because of that. And that was the case for me. So medical retirement through the Marine Corps, obviously not pre-planned. And although I did have some time in advance kind of knowing that it was coming, there's some things that come with that, and not having years to plan. You have less than a year to figure it out. So it mentions that obviously with having the emergencies and things that first responders deal with, you're constantly on the go. You have things that pop up, and you have to be able to audible and solve the problems immediately, or have solutions on a daily basis. And part of that can lead to PTSD and depression and other traumatic things that have happened during your time of service, as well as having all that stuff when you get out. A typical 8 to 5 job, instead of having shifts and working maybe 3 on 4 off, or 4 on 3 off, those types of shifts, you're going to have a whole lot more time and time off, and those things that were family time, vacations, different events that maybe your kids or family have, all of a sudden you have some of that, and you have different dynamics with people that are quote-unquote civilians and maybe have never done any type of first responder, military, and had those types of experiences. And we'll talk a little bit more on kind of some of the stuff that comes with that, and how you may have expectations of people doing things, solving things, moving a little bit faster than they may. So tips on preparing for retirement. They've got some broken out here. Talk to family, get professional help, be active, reach out, and plan ahead. Talk to family. This is obviously important, especially if you are moving back home, or have a wife and kids, or husband and kids. Obviously, everybody kind of needs to know what that looks like, what the plan is, what the thought is, and if you're planning ahead of time, years out, potentially, where does that lead you to? What state, what area, what country, what kind of job are you going to have or not have? Are you going to work around the house, or what's the plan? Expectations on not only your side, but family side can be a huge thing. Getting professional help. This is an important one. I didn't, and there were definitely some effects that between having a newborn, being married, and some other things when I got out, not having the help and trying to figure out who the heck I wanted to be when I grew up. There's stressors that obviously come with that, but also moving across country to an area I've never lived before, not having my family, not having my friends around when moving. Those are all things that can lead and have issues if you don't have help, don't have someone to talk to, and sometimes you do need a professional to weed through some of that stuff. Being active, especially hard for those of us that have medically retired. I had a couple back surgeries, a couple things that came up that led me to medically being retired. So the person that was running a marathon, running half marathons, working out at the gym, usually twice a day, those things had to be put on the back burner a little bit. And that way of lifestyle had to be worked back into, and I still can't do some of that stuff. So being active is important, but understand that there may be some alterations to what you're used to. Reach out, connect to retired first responders or others, obviously, that are in your community, those that have been through it, transitioned, and it's even important to keep in touch with those that have stayed and are currently active. For me, getting out, it's been important to be around other veterans and other people in the community that have been part of the first responder veteran community, those that kind of understand what comes with that, the sacrifices, and then the willingness to have hobbies. And for me, that's typically cars, old, new, and shooting and guns and things of that nature. So I've also been I've also reached out to those that had stayed active, and as those that I served with got promoted, got married, etc., I've been a part of that and kept in touch, and that helps with still feeling a bit a part of the community. Without being there, you're still experiencing some of the things, and you're hearing what they're going through, the positives, the negatives, how things have changed, good and bad. Those are all things that are important and have helped as I've transitioned. Plan ahead. I sucked at this. You would think the whole proper planning, piss poor performance, all that stuff that was drilled into our head. I had almost a year advance notice that I kind of knew medically it was unlikely that I was going to get to stay, and should have planned a whole lot better because I can tell you, moving literally coast to coast, which is what we did, having not a great plan led to things like wife and kids moving 4 or 5 months before, wife and kid, I should say, moving 4 months before I got out, and it had me packing most of the stuff at the end. And mind you, I had surgery on my back and some other things, so getting help and packing a whole house to move cross country, not exactly easy. And the money to move, gas, if something broke, staying at hotels, all those things that cost money, having a down payment for either a house to rent or an apartment to rent when you move. I did horribly at this. And as I guess at the time, as the husband, as the man, that led to a whole crap load of stress. We were very fortunate to have family members that loaned us money and got us to where we needed to be. I was able to pay everyone off when I got my money back from the move. As a medical retirement, we get paid to move wherever we're moving, and a lot of times it's by weight, by mile, etc. But you don't get that all right away, and even if you get an advance, it's not always enough to cover all the stuff that I'm talking to, especially if you're moving to a coast where the rental properties are pretty dang expensive. And I knew that I would have it in the sense that I started a very good job, already had the job offer signed, already had everything lined up, but it was undue stress that was not needed had I planned better, had we planned better, and had money saved for that transition, knowing that it was coming almost 9 to 10 months in advance. So take that for what it's worth. It definitely created stress and havoc in our move. Common problems first responders face in retirement. So I've kind of touched on this a little bit, but boredom, isolation is often due to the stigma of mental health and not reaching out and not getting the help that you need. And as you transition, if you're not next to or you don't have near you any friends, family, people that are part of it, if you're not part of local community that are prior first responders, EMT paramedics, etc., or even the online communities, if you're not a part of that stuff and don't have people to reach out to, you can feel alone. And I get that completely, because where we moved was not a military town, not near my military friends and brothers and sisters. So some health problems may get worse. They're talking on physical ailments and things of that nature, but you typically push through some of those physical issues as you're serving, and I'll take care of it later. I can tell you my back, my knees, all those things that I knew were messed up, hurt, and had surgeries on to help get it better. I definitely felt it more so when not pushing through. I wasn't any longer necessarily getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning and doing the days that I was doing before. I wasn't doing the same type of PT in the mornings that we had done while I was active duty. So some of my physical issues definitely were bigger. Part of seeking help or medical professional help are because of some issues that will potentially arise. Alcohol and substance abuse. Those of us that were military, I can tell you it's not uncommon for them to give medications, give pills. It's not funny, but I called it my Skittles bag, and they had roughly 8 to 10 towards the end that I was on for different pains, different things of not being able to sleep. And on top of that, it was typically a half a bottle of Captain, and more often than not, a day with it. So I can tell you, for me, it was right towards the end of getting out that I really started screwing up. And at one time, I was quote unquote a good Marine, and I'd gotten promoted quite fast and all those things, and I was showing up late and doing all kinds of dumb crap and almost getting my career jacked up before I got medically retired. So after some hard conversations, I did what you're not supposed to do, which was literally stopped everything, stopped taking everything, detoxed on my own, sweated it out. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but I've managed to stay that way and stay off of stuff because of it. So the alcohol side of things, for whatever reason now, I don't need it. Don't need it like I did at the time. I'll still drink. I'll still have a couple here and there, but it's not like I'm trying to get the pain to go away and I'm drinking until it goes away. So there's that. Another thing that they mention for this is isolation. Too much of it can be a bad thing. That said, part of a lot of our serving and being around what we were around, I can tell you I like being somewhat isolated. Our property is on 30 plus acres with a gate on the driveway and full security system and all that stuff. I like the fact that I can do just about whatever I want. I don't have people telling me I can't shoot, I can't do this. So some of that is good, but too much of it is not a good thing. Obviously, you need interaction with some people, and oftentimes that's going to be people that served and did similar things as you and I. Lack of sleep and or nightmares. This one was huge for me. I went through lack of sleep or insomnia. Had the CPAP machine given to me, had surgeries on different things to try to fix it. Essentially, I still had a mind that was racing at night and still couldn't shut down the brain. So seeking medical help, and specifically through an organization that was prior military people that were now physicians and or therapists providing services. I've figured out what that takes now to get sleep, and it's not some of the narcotic type drugs that I've had to have in the past. Agitation and stress increase. This definitely happened for me when I was medically retired and pushed out. Those of us that transition, retire, etc., oftentimes trying to figure out what we're going to do or who we're going to be, what kind of job, career, if we're going to stay at home. There's things that come with that. Being around the family and or them now having us around is a good thing, but at the same time, they're used to you not necessarily being around all the time, and there's definitely some stress and agitation that comes with that. So relationship problems, I've mentioned this before. Obviously, the dynamic changes when you're around a lot more, and the frustration of trying to figure out what you want to do with your career, with your life afterwards. It can lead to all types of different issues. For me personally, there was more to it than I'm sharing right now, but within 9 months of me being retired, we were already filing for divorce. So those things come about. There's definitely some stress and things that come through, and you know, some of it is definitely my fault. Some fault is on the others, but it is what it is. And some better planning, some better thoughts before we came out of that retirement, that medical retirement move, the job transitions, all these things we could have done better at. I don't know that it would have changed that specifically, but nonetheless, that's what happened out of it. Depression and anxiety coming from it. Obviously, that's part of the big talk that a lot of organizations are out there with the veterans 22 a day, and then the first responders have a higher rate of suicide out there than others. Civilian side, I looked, and it was something like 30% higher than civilian side. So these are all things that if we can stay together in our community, take care of each other, have that open line of communication, if something's bothering, they have someone to reach out, and it doesn't matter, you know, what time, where, reach out and have someone to talk to. That's a huge thing. And it does mention in here, with this transition, there's some things that you can do to keep busy or help with keeping happy. Teaching or mentoring, which that's kind of what I'm doing with the YouTube channel and some of these videos. Working with a first responder charity, obviously that's a way to stay within the community. Becoming a first responder ambassador or starting your own business. I've done, you know, 3 out of the 5 out of there, or 3 out of the 4 out of there, and it's helped big time, because if you have something that you're passionate about, something that you're working towards, and something that you're still in the community with, it definitely helps with those stresses and things that come about. So with that said, if you guys have any questions, concerns, I would ask, you know, reach out. We have obviously the social media handles Life After Serving, both on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. We have the private group on Facebook, Life After Serving. And then there's the YouTube channel, Life After Serving as well. TikTok is going to be Don Ross _LAS. And then we do have the email, lifeafterserving@gmail.com. If you do need something, reach out on any of those. I've got points of contact both on the veteran and first responder side. If you just need someone to talk to, reach out and we'll get you in touch. So if you could, I'd ask that you share the YouTube channel. The more subscribers we get out there, obviously it helps get the message out there. This is something that we are going to continue to put the videos out on these different topics, both on the veteran military side and on the first responder side. I think the transition, whether it is by choice or by retirement, medical retirement, all these things definitely lead to some differences, and our community needs to stick together and help each other out through that, because it is a little bit of an adjustment, and it took me years actually to really adjust, and I don't know that I'm fully adjusted, but it's better than it was. So if I can help anybody, reach out. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.